I, 25F, never imagined I'd be sharing this story, but recent events have left me with no choice. My mom, 46F, and stepdad, 48M, have always tried to control my life, but what they did after learning about my pregnancy has destroyed our family completely. For context, my biological dad passed away from aggressive cancer when I was 3, and my mom married my stepdad when I was 6. I also have a half-sister Stacy, 15F, from their marriage. Growing up, the difference in how my stepdad treated me compared to Stacy was obvious to everyone except my mom. While he never hit me or yelled at me, his actions made it crystal clear that Stacy was his real daughter and was just some obligation he had to deal with. During school events, he would cheer and take photos when Stacy performed but would always be busy with his phone during my performances. For my high school graduation, he got Stacy a new iPhone so she could take pictures, but barely looked up from his newspaper when I got my diploma. My mom always defended him, saying I was imagining things and that he was doing his best to be a good father figure. After years of this treatment, I learned to accept that I would never be good enough for him and focused on building my own life. I met my boyfriend Mike, 27M, 3 years ago when my car broke down and I took it to his garage. He not only fixed my car but also made sure to explain everything he was doing so I wouldn't get overcharged at other places in the future. We started dating soon after, and he's been nothing but amazing and supportive. My family, especially my stepdad, never approved of Mike because he works as a mechanic and didn't go to college. They wanted me to date someone with a more prestigious job, constantly trying to set me up with sons of their friends who were doctors, lawyers, or businessmen. My mom would make snide comments about Mike's grease-stained work clothes and how I could do so much better with my accounting degree. I ignored all of this because Mike made me happy, and unlike them, he supported my dreams and choices. Last month, I discovered I was pregnant with twins. Mike was absolutely overjoyed at the news. We had been careful with protection, but sometimes these things happen. Instead of panicking, Mike immediately started researching about twin pregnancies and planning for our future. He had been saving money for an engagement ring, but when I told him about the pregnancy, he proposed to me right there in our apartment, saying the ring money would be better spent on preparing for our babies. This meant so much to me because it showed his priorities were in the right place. The real problems began when we decided to tell my family about the pregnancy and engagement. Mike wanted to be there with me, but I thought it would be better to tell them myself. My mom's first reaction wasn't to congratulate me, instead, she asked if I was keeping them, like my pregnancy was some kind of disease. When I confirmed that yes, I was keeping my babies, she completely lost it. She started crying hysterically about how I was throwing my life away and that Mike would never be able to support twins on a mechanic's salary. My stepdad's reaction was even worse. He called Mike an irresponsible lowlife and said that no real man would get a woman pregnant before marriage. He went on a rant about how mechanics were all dropouts who couldn't do better in life, completely ignoring that Mike owns his own garage and makes a decent living. The next day, things escalated beyond anything I could have imagined. My mom actually showed up at my workplace with Stacy in tow. I work as a junior accountant at one of the bigger firms in our city, and my mom created this huge scene in the lobby. She was crying and begging me to think about my future, saying that Mike had probably gotten me pregnant on purpose to trap me because he knew I had a good job. She kept going on about how I was throwing away my career and that no respectable company would want a young mother. This was incredibly humiliating, like coworkers and even some clients witnessed the whole thing. Even now, weeks later, people at work still give me strange looks and whisper behind my back. That same evening, my mom took it upon herself to call our entire extended family, all my aunts, uncles, and cousins. She twisted the whole story to make Mike sound like some deadbeat who had taken advantage of me. She told everyone he was probably going to leave me alone with the twins, just like other mechanics she knew who had abandoned their families. Soon, my phone was flooded with calls and messages from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, all telling me to think carefully about my choices. Some even suggested I should get an abortion because raising twins alone would ruin my life. The final breaking point came when my stepdad called me to his office for a private talk. He offered to pay for an abortion and said he would help me find a better man afterward, someone more suitable for my social status. The part that infuriated me most was when he said this was for my own good because he didn't want me to struggle like my mom did after my biological dad died. This was completely false. My dad didn't abandon us or leave us struggling. He died of cancer but made sure we would be taken care of by leaving a good life insurance policy. My stepdad was basically trying to rewrite history to justify his interference in my life. I finally snapped and told them both exactly what I thought of their behavior. I reminded my stepdad that he wasn't my real father and had never tried to be one anyway. I brought up all the times he had ignored me in favor of Stacy, all the school events he had missed, and all the times he had made me feel like an unwanted burden in his perfect family. My mom started crying, saying I was being ungrateful for everything they had done for me, as if providing basic necessities to a child deserved some kind of special recognition. I walked out of their house that day and haven't spoken to them since. Stacy has been constantly texting me, saying I hurt mom and dad badly with my words, and that I need to apologize. Some extended family members think I overreacted and should give them time to accept the situation. But others, especially my dad's sister, have fully supported my decision and told me I did the right thing by standing up for myself and Mike. Mike and I are now living together in our apartment, preparing for our twins and planning a small wedding. Despite being sure about my decision, this whole situation has left me feeling hurt and betrayed. I always thought family would be there to support you during life's important moments, but instead, they're trying to control my choices and tear down the person I love most. The fact that they would go so far as to humiliate me at work and try to turn our entire family against us shows just how little they respect me as an adult capable of making my own decisions. Update 1. It's been 3 weeks since my last post, and I've discovered something that has completely changed my understanding of my family's behavior. Their reaction to my pregnancy wasn't just about Mike or his job, there was a much darker reason behind their attempts to control my life. Last weekend, my Aunt Julie, my dad's sister, drove 4 hours to visit me. She said she had been following my situation through other family members and needed to tell me something important in person. What she revealed left me speechless and shaking with anger. Before my dad died, knowing his cancer was terminal, he had set up an extensive trust fund for me. The conditions of the trust were specific. I would gain access to it either when I turned 26 or when I started a family, whichever came first. My mom and stepdad were appointed as trustees until either condition was met. The trust fund wasn't just money in a bank account, it included properties that my dad had inherited from his parents, and various investments he had made. My aunt showed me all the legal documents she had kept copies of. The trust fund is currently worth around $800,000, plus 2 rental properties in the downtown area that generate substantial monthly income. My dad had carefully planned everything to ensure I would be financially secure, but my mom and stepdad had kept this hidden from me my entire life. According to the documents, the rental income was supposed to be reinvested into the trust fund, but my aunt suspects they'd been using it for themselves. This revelation explains so many things about their behavior over the years. Their constant interference in my relationships, their push for me to focus on my career instead of dating, their extreme reaction to my pregnancy, it was all about maintaining control over the trust fund. They knew that once I had the babies, they would lose their position as trustees and have to hand over control of everything to me. With shaking hands, I called my mom to confront her about this. At first, she tried to deny everything, but when I mentioned the specific details from the documents, she broke down and admitted it all. Her explanation was that they were trying to protect me, claiming I wasn't mature enough to handle such a large inheritance. But then, in the same breath, she had the nerve to suggest that Mike might have somehow found out about the trust fund and deliberately gotten me pregnant to get access to the money. This accusation made me physically sick. I started thinking back to all the times they had interfered with my relationships. Every time I dated someone they considered beneath their social status, they would find ways to sabotage the relationship. They always pushed me toward wealthy men from their social circle, claiming they just wanted the best for me. Now I understand, they were afraid of losing control over the money if I started a family with someone they couldn't manipulate. Even their aggressive push for me to get an abortion makes more sense now. They weren't concerned about my future or the babies, they were desperately trying to prevent me from meeting one of the trust fund conditions. If I had the abortion and stayed single, they would maintain control until I turned 26, giving them another year to figure out how to keep their hands on the money. I immediately contacted a lawyer specializing in trust fund cases. The lawyer discovered something even more disturbing. Last year, my mom and stepdad had attempted to modify the trust fund terms to extend their control till I turned 30. Thankfully, they weren't successful because such changes required my signature as the beneficiary. The fact that they tried to do this behind my back shows just how far they were willing to go to maintain control over my dad's legacy. The lawyer is now investigating exactly how much rental income should have accumulated over the years and where that money went. Initial findings suggest tens of thousands of dollars are unaccounted for. We're also looking into whether they made any other attempts to modify the trust fund terms without my knowledge. Stacy called me yesterday, crying hysterically. She accused me of destroying our family by involving lawyers and threatening legal action against our parents. I tried to explain to her that our parents had been lying to all of us for years, that they had hidden my dad's final gift to me and potentially misused funds that were meant for my future. But at 15, she can't understand the magnitude of their betrayal. To her, I'm just being greedy and causing problems. Mike has been incredibly supportive through all of this, which makes their accusations about him even more hurtful. He actually suggested we refuse the trust fund money just to prove it wasn't about the money, but I refused. This isn't just about money, it's about my dad's final wishes and the years of manipulation I endured. Every time they made me feel less worthy than Stacy, every time they criticized my choices, every time they tried to control my life, was it all just to maintain their grip on my inheritance? These revelations have forced me to question every interaction, every kind gesture, every family decision from the past 19 years. Were they ever actually looking out for my best interests, or was everything just a calculated move to maintain control over the trust fund? The weight of these questions keeps me up at night, making me wonder if anything in my childhood was genuine. Update 2. Things have taken an even darker turn in the past week. After my last update about discovering the trust fund, my mom and stepdad changed their strategy completely. They showed up at our apartment last Sunday morning with Stacy, my grandparents, and even my mom's sister. They brought flowers, a cake, and baby gifts, claiming they wanted to apologize and make things right before the twins arrived. The visit started off surprisingly well. My mom was crying, saying she had spent sleepless nights thinking about how wrong they had been to hide the trust fund from me. My stepdad actually looked me in the eye for once and admitted he should have treated me better over the years. They even brought up Mike, saying they had misjudged him and could see now that he truly cared about me. My grandparents nodded along, adding that family should stick together during pregnancies. For a moment, I actually felt hopeful. Mike was more skeptical but stayed quiet, letting me handle the situation. My mom started talking about planning a baby shower, and my grandmother offered to help with the nursery. Stacy was excited about becoming an aunt, showing me baby clothes she had picked out. Then my stepdad pulled out a folder, saying they had something important to discuss regarding the trust fund. They had brought a contract drafted by their lawyer. The contract was pages long, but the main points were clear. They wanted to continue managing the trust fund and properties even after I gained access to them. They also wanted the right to make investment decisions about the rental income. Their excuses sounded rehearsed. My mom said managing properties while caring for newborn twins would be too stressful for me. My stepdad claimed his years of business experience made him better suited to handle the investments. They even suggested creating a family business where they would manage everything and give me monthly reports. When I refused to sign, their entire demeanor shifted. The loving, apologetic family act disappeared instantly. My stepdad started listing every expense they had ever paid for me, my school supplies, my prom dress, even the food I ate growing up. According to him, I owed them for raising me after my dad died, so continuing to manage the trust fund was the least I could do to repay them. My mom took a different approach. She turned to Stacy and started crying about how this would affect her future. She told Stacy right there that her college fund might have to be used to hire property managers since I was being uncooperative. Stacy started crying too, asking why I wanted to hurt them like this. It was clear they had coached her beforehand. The most infuriating part was when they brought up my dad. My stepdad had the nerve to say that since my dad wasn't around to manage the properties himself, it made sense for him to continue doing it. My mom added that my dad would have wanted the properties to benefit the whole family, not just me. They were basically trying to use my dead father to manipulate me into giving them control of the inheritance he left specifically for me. I stayed calm and told them I wouldn't sign anything. Mike, who had been silently watching this whole scene, finally spoke up. He pointed out that their actions, showing up uninvited with a contract and using Stacy to emotionally manipulate me, proved exactly why they couldn't be trusted with my inheritance. This sent my stepdad into a rage. He started yelling about how a mechanic had no right to comment on family business. He told Mike to stay out of it unless he wanted his garage to start losing customers. When we asked them to leave, they refused to move. Mike had to threaten to call the police before they finally left our apartment. Before leaving, my stepdad turned to me and said if I didn't sign the contract, they would make sure everyone in our extended family and social circle knew what an ungrateful daughter I was. My grandparents, who had been mostly quiet during this confrontation, called me later that evening. They said they were disappointed in how I handled things. According to them, I was being unnecessarily difficult and putting money above family. My grandmother suggested that my pregnancy hormones were making me emotional and that Mike was influencing my decisions. They urged me to reconsider the contract before things got worse. This whole incident has shown me that my parents' apology was just another manipulation tactic. They don't care about making amends or being part of their grandchildren's lives, they only care about maintaining control over the money. Using Stacy as an emotional pawn and threatening Mike's business proves they haven't changed at all. Update 3. It's been 4 months since everything started, and I can finally share the conclusion to this whole mess. The court proceedings about the trust fund ended last week, and the outcome was better than I could have hoped for. The final hearing was intense. My mom and stepdad showed up with 3 lawyers, clearly expecting to overwhelm us with legal expertise. They had prepared a huge presentation about how they had managed the trust fund responsibly and always had my best interests at heart. But their arguments fell apart when our lawyer presented the financial records. The judge ordered a complete audit of their management of the trust fund for the past 19 years. The investigation revealed they had misused over $150,000 from the rental income alone. Instead of reinvesting it into the trust fund as required, they had used it for luxury purchases, vacations, and even Stacy's private school tuition. Their lawyers tried to argue that these expenses were somehow related to my welfare, but the judge didn't buy it. My stepdad actually tried to blame my mom during the proceedings, claiming she had handled most of the financial decisions. This backfired spectacularly when my mom, feeling betrayed, revealed that he had been forging documents to withdraw money from the trust fund for his failed business ventures. The judge was furious about this admission. The court ordered them to repay every misused penny with interest. My stepdad is also facing potential criminal charges for financial misconduct and document forgery. Their lawyers immediately tried to negotiate a payment plan, but given the amount involved, they'll probably have to sell their vacation home to cover it. The most unexpected outcome was Stacy's reaction to all this. She sat through the final hearing and heard all the evidence. Watching our parents turn on each other in court and seeing the documented proof of their lies finally opened her eyes. She came to my apartment afterward, crying and apologizing for not believing me earlier. She admitted that our parents had been using her to manipulate me emotionally, telling her what to say and how to act to make me feel guilty. My mom made one last desperate attempt to reach me through my workplace. She somehow got past the front desk and tried to create another scene, claiming she was having a medical emergency and needed to see me immediately. My boss, who now knows the whole situation, had security escort her out. She's been banned from the building, and my company's legal team has warned her about harassment. My stepdad still sends threatening messages occasionally through different numbers, saying this isn't over and that I'll regret choosing money over family. Our lawyer is documenting everything for a potential harassment case. We've also installed security cameras around our new house just to be safe. Mike and I are now focusing on preparing for our twins, who are due in 3 months. We've used some of the trust fund money to buy a small house in a nice neighborhood, and Mike has expanded his auto repair business by hiring 2 more mechanics. The rental properties from my dad's trust fund are now being properly managed by a professional company, and the income is finally being used as my dad intended. My Aunt Julie has been incredible through all of this. She's helping us prepare the nursery and sharing stories about my dad, telling me how proud he would be of how I stood up for myself. She also revealed that my dad had specifically considered adding my mom and stepdad as trustees only temporarily, but his declining health forced him to make quick decisions. I've decided to go completely no contact with my mom and stepdad. Some extended family members, especially my grandparents, still think I'm being too harsh and that families should forgive each other. But I can't risk having such toxic, manipulative people around my children. The trust fund drama showed their true colors. They were willing to steal from their own grandchildren's inheritance and use their daughter as an emotional pawn. I won't let them manipulate my kids the way they manipulated me. Stacy is the only one I'm maintaining limited contact with. She's still young and was as much a victim of their manipulation as I was. We've agreed to meet occasionally for lunch, but only when our parents aren't around. She understands why I need this boundary and has promised to respect it.